Hi everyone, my name is Adam Modell. I'm a composer, pianist, teacher, writer, and comedian, and welcome to the first episode of reImagined, where I take well-known pieces of classical music and add a modern twist. When discussing classical composers of the past and why they wrote the way they wrote, we often have very person-centric explanations. We talk about who they studied with, who they were influenced by, what their personal life was like. But we frequently forget to ask the questions about technology. What instruments were available to them? What did the technological world around them look like? What did they have available when they were composing? And these questions become very important. For example, keyboardists of today will often ask the question, when performing the keyboard music of Bach, should one use the sustain pedal? After all, the sustain pedal would not have been available to Bach. He would have been writing on the harpsichord, which of course does not have a sustain pedal the same way a modern piano does. And so people will say, no, you shouldn't use any sustain pedal because that's not what Bach would have used. And some would say, oh no, maybe you should, because this is an entirely different instrument and therefore all bets are off. And some might say, well hey, I bet if Bach had the pedal, he would have wanted to use it. And so this is an interesting question to explore because the true answer is, if Bach would have had the modern piano, he probably would have written fundamentally different music. However, it can still be a lot of fun to ask these questions regardless. It can be a lot of fun to take the music of one composer and place it in the technological context of a different era. And so that's what I'm going to do today. While the Bach with the sustain pedal question is asked and re-asked time and time again, I figured with this series it would be time to try something else. And so rather than going from Baroque technology to classical technology, I'm going to start with a Romantic composer, one of my favorites, Johannes Brahms, and place his music within the context of the 21st century. When thinking about the music of Brahms, I frequently think about the Intermezzo in A, Opus 118. It's a piece that I first learned as a sophomore in my undergraduate, and because of how flexible it is as a piece, I've kept it in my repertoire for a very long time. And one thing I've thought about as it's developed for me over the years is the nature of the lines within, where Brahms writes these beautiful, sweeping melodies, but of course, this can be somewhat limited by the keyboard and its inability to keep any sort of regular sustain. As a percussion instrument, the piano will sound a note, and then that note will get progressively quieter, and it doesn't really develop other than the fact that it gets quieter. And so, when thinking about the vocal music or the string music of Brahms and how much you can crescendo within a single note on either of those instruments, I thought it would be interesting to think, what if I had a keyboard instrument that was capable of developing a pitch over time? So that's how I came up with the instrument I'm going to use in today's reimagining of Brahms' Intermezzo in A, Opus 118, No. 2. To create my instrument, I used the Exs24 Sampler in Logic Pro X. I created a tone and shape which I found best represented the expressive style of Brahms on a micro level, loaded that into a sampler zone, and adjusted the parameters of the instrument to make it respond similarly to a traditional piano. After minutes of tireless adjustment, it was time to record my ideal performance of this widely adored piece of music. So I should mention this isn't entirely a serious video. So, in all seriousness about the non-seriousness, let's talk about the implications of this boisterous instrument. I created it using the rap air horn sound. First heard in studio in Bob Marley and the Wailers' Ravers version, but popularized by DJ Cypha Sounds, the rap air horn became a mainstay in hip-hop club music to the point where it became cliché. Once used as a special effect for the purposes of hype, this sound has been reified, or granted concrete referential meaning in Western popular culture, through its widespread use in well-known tracks by Travis Scott, Lil Wayne, Missy Elliott, Madonna, and Beyoncé, to name a few. It's no longer just a sound effect to get people hyped. It is the popular oral symbol of hype. I am the hype! This reification makes the air horn sound a prime candidate for plunderphonia, a term used by John Oswald in his essay Plunderphonics, or Audio Piracy as Compositional Prerogative, where he argues that recorded sounds could and should be treated as musical instruments. This technique has become a mainstay in many electronic genres, perhaps most notably in the satirical musical and artistic stylings of vaporwave. After building my instrument and recording my performance, it was time to get opinions from others. What did they think of this instrument? Did they see expressive potential for Brahms in the future? Or would they scoff at my attempts to reach for something higher? Okay, so if you were to ascribe like an adjective or like a few adjectives to Brahms' music, like how would you describe it?
Adjectives, oh.
It's very romantic at times.
It's powerful.
There's something kind of sweeping about Brahms.
Heavy.
He fills the space when you listen to his music.
You know, it's in that period of lush, beautiful music. But
Lush.
it's very lush,
Lush.
but it also has a little bit of flair.
Even when he's trying to be light, he's heavy.
That's all. I don't think I've ever heard anything by Brahms that I haven't just been moved by immediately.
But not in the way like say Mahler or Richard Strauss or Wagner, where it's like it's heavy and rich in a way that I like to call too much sauerkraut. It'll give you gas.
Oh, sure.
I don't find Brahms gives me gas.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So, now we're going to go ahead and listen to Brahms' Intermezzo in A, which is a piano piece. Listening to this recording by Emanuel Axe. And then we'll hear another version of it a little bit later on, but I'd love to just sort of hear your thoughts on the original.
Let's do it
first.
You know, people used to think I looked like Emanuel Axe
Oh, really?
when I had more hair.
All these suspensions, like he's taking you to where you expect, but with that little twist.
I legit thought for a second that was Elton John.
Oh, really?
And I was really...
Yes.
It was like that chord that just happened.
He should dress more like Elton John, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it worked well for Elton John.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, he could be playing this with wearing a Donald Duck suit. That'd be hilarious.
It was just like slightly off from the other one, but it just makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of like cinematic to me.
Yeah.
The dynamic contrast Axe is getting is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not how I thought that would end.
Oh, really?
But I liked it, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's not what I was expecting.
What did you like about it? Anything that you didn't like about it?
No, nothing I didn't like.
It was obviously extremely gorgeous, and it's a beautiful piece of music.
It was just, it took me on this journey the whole time, and
If someone had never heard a classical piano piece before, it's kind of, to me, that was kind of like the Steven Tyler of rock and roll.
it was moving, and then there were like those little moments where you didn't quite expect what was happening, but it all made sense anyway.
If someone wanted to know, what's a rock and roll voice sound like? You go, oh, you're Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Sure, yeah.
And this seems like, what does a classical piano piece sound like? Umbrella term.
Is there anything where you feel like there's something that is being limited by just the fact that it's only a piano? Like, do you think if Brahms had something else that he would sort of write differently?
If he had something else?
I feel like it's easy to make the voice bloom.
Well, because the melody is so legato, having the piano can kind of get in the way of that.
Yeah,
Since
sure.
it's such a percussive instrument, you lose, like, with the attack, you can lose some of that line.
It's much easier than with any other instrument because like the voice has that capability of crescendoing.
That's one of the limitations that I personally have with the piano is like, you can't get rid of the attack.
The way that he writes music, every note flows so perfectly into the other that I don't get that fading quality that does come with the piano. If it had been for voice, I probably might have thought even more of it. You know?
Okay, sure. Yeah. The big point of this series is sort of thinking about the influence of technology or like basically available resources and the way they affect the way we compose. What would you want an instrument playing that piece to have the capability of doing?
I think a greater sustain.
What would you say if I said that I am trying to create an instrument that can sort of reflect that sustained power of like the voice or like a cello or like some other instrument that has the ability to change the note after it's been sounded? Like if I'm trying to create an instrument, a keyboard instrument that can do that, like what would you say to that?
Would I be interested in that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that would open up a lot of options.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. It's a completely normal instrument. I don't understand why you're scared. Cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Alright, so what if I told you I designed one of those instruments?
You did?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I would be very interested.
Yeah, okay, so I created a sampler
Show me
instrument
the
here.
goods.
Let's do this!
Alright, so yeah, so here's the one with the instrument that I made.
Who are you? I really don't know what to say.
This is what Gene Belcher would do.
Yeah, absolutely. I took a lot of influence from Gene with this piece, with this instrument, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, you know,
You
it's
have
like...
that same attack.
Yeah, okay, do I? Okay.
Yes.
So I think the thing that comes up in this is that it has that scoop. Every single sound has that scoop before it starts, right? It's like, it's not just... It's...
Okay, so that's
So that's
less
kind
desirable.
of... I think that... I mean, otherwise, you know, clarinets, when you hear them play, they don't sound that great. I mean, they just sound like...
Do you sort of hear the continuity of the lines?
I can, but at the same time...
That's not right. That's not how clarinets sound. I'm sorry to all the clarinetists out there.
I'm trying my best here, you know.
Like the frequency of vibrations that gives it such a like. Wait, I want to hear this part because the lower ones are nice, and then the high ones come in.
Well, you know, I think maybe Brahms would find this his ideal version.
Really?
Frankly.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, you know, Brahms was all about cats, I think.
But it also just sounds like a ship descending into in a sci-fi movie. It's just like whoa.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that would be less Brahmsian, maybe?
Yeah.
Cats on the high end and like
And then farts at the bottom.
farts, foghorns at the bottom.
I do actually love that sound.
All right, so
What?
It's not what I was expecting. You think like rock band, Bach
Sure.
cello suite kind of thing.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
typically what... So my mind was going there a little bit.
Okay.
So this was definitely out of left field.
Oh my gosh, I don't even like. I was expecting you to have like synth piano to make it sustain, and I'm just like, oh, of course it was this. Of course it was horns. Of course it was air horns. And now I just want to listen to the next episode.
Coming soon on YouTube. Would you see an expressive potential with this instrument? Like,
I mean, if the point of music is to make you enjoy something, is to make you feel or think something, it definitely made me feel happy. So
I would be an idiot to say no, I think.
Okay.
Because you just never know. I think there could be a lot done with a sound like that.
So there we go.
Yeah.
I think that it qualifies as music.
Do you think Brahms, being given this technology in the 19th century, would have wanted to use it? And if you think Brahms were alive now, do you think he would want to use it?
I think all the major composers of the past would have used what's available to them.
I think if it was available in the 19th century, it's a no. Because
Okay.
it's kind of like a cross between a hurdy-gurdy and a badly tuned accordion.
Okay.
Which I guess
he would have had
kinda the
access
same
to.
thing. Right. And he never used those.
Maybe he would have wanted to use it.
All right. Cool.
If it existed.
Do you think that Brahms would use this?
Oh, hell no.
No?
No.
If he were alive today, I think he could be corrupted into using it.
Cool.
He would be horrified.
Mm-hmm.
He would be horrified. And yet strangely fascinated.
I think the better question is if he hadn't had it when he was alive and then suddenly popped up in the modern day and he was like, oh, look at this. I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
Brahms was so conservative even in his own time.
If it had been around during his time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he would have used it, but it would have been... I don't think he would have written this particular piece with it.
Sure, yeah.
The music
Like,
would have changed.
yeah,
The
I
instrument
think-
changes the music.
Right. So if Beethoven would have used it first, then maybe Brahms would have used it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Beethoven
so-
would love this.
Brahms would have used the air horn.
Cool.
I think
It's
so.
That's canon. Any other final thoughts before we call
Please stop doing this.
Okay.
Just stop.
Just why?
No, please don't stop.
Okay.
In all seriousness, I love what you're doing with music and humor, and kind of. I mean, there is a whole serious thing in here about what makes pieces funny versus not, and you've just changed one thing in a piece, and okay,
It's strange, and that's kind of the point.
there shouldn't be funny. This is only funny because the original piece is more familiar.
Yeah.
And so we expect the piano sound. This piece is no different than many acts playing it.
Yeah.
It's just a different sound generating the notes.
Yeah, exactly.
So what makes that beautiful and this ridiculous?
Yeah.
Or is it ridiculous?
Or is it? Yeah.
It's cool how it that sounds so much like a double bass. It's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Air horns
Yeah.
tuned down are double basses. That's canon.
That's what we
now.
found out. That was fun.
Good. All right.
Terrifying, and please keep doing this, and maybe write stuff for it for your own music and make it sound super cool. And
There's a whole album in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Boulez.
Okay.
Do Boulez.
How about early chant?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
Where you got 2 lines and one
cool.
moves independently.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe like a Michaud. What might...
There's some Bach too, actually.
Yeah.
I think the well-tempered clavier with air horns would be perfect.
Cool.
Maybe go even earlier, Leotan, Peritan.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Awesome. Serotonin, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great.
And then you do the prelude to the Grand Macabre, which will sound exactly the same.
All right, cool.
All right.
So I just got finished going through all the interview videos, and I recognized something. While I have such a love for Brahms in this instrument, it seems that when I take it to others, maybe Brahms isn't the best example of the potential of this instrument. So I have a lot of thinking to do about what is the future of this instrument? What does it mean for classical music? What does it mean for music in general? So I have a lot of thinking to do now that all of this is said and done. So I'm going to take a walk. This is Adam Odell signing off. So maybe Brahms wasn't the most successful conduit for my air horn aspirations, but his music gave me a chance to start anew. Armed with nothing but a sampler, a 3-second public domain audio file, and a dream, I set out to find where my work was most needed. Because even though a 19th century Beethoven enthusiast may not need my 88 keys of pure hype, someone, somewhere, just might.
That kind of improves the ending quite a bit, though.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving it a like. It really does help me out and lets me know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification icon so that you get notified when my videos go live. Link in the description is my Patreon, where you can support the channel and get a bunch of cool bonus content, including extended interviews and the lo-fi version of the Brahms that I made for this video. There's also my Teespring store and places where you can go to listen to my music, so I encourage you to check that out. And until next time, thank you guys so much, and have a good one.